get invite off to Bobby here, and then we'll get rolling. Where is that thing? Invite guest. There we go. Ooh, I gotta get my email fired up. One sec. Okay, let me just text them as well. Hey, what's up, K9? Sorry about that. Better? Still? You still on mute? Oh, okay, good. Everything's good? Okay. Yeah, so as I was going to say, I mean, it looks as though it's an interesting slate because the first look is literally a guy I've never heard of. It's the second best value. So my comment was that maybe they're like pulling a trick on me. You know, they're seeing if Michael Hunt is showing up as my top value or something to see if I'll recommend him or something like that. I'm being subject of some prank or something like that. Does anybody know who James Bouknight is? Any of you have heard of him? I don't know, but whoever he is, here's Bobby. Yeah, Bobby, maybe you can shed some light on this because I was out all day.
Yeah.
I literally walked in just to see, and I ran these productions. This is a prank, right? I'm telling you, they want me to play Michael Hunt or something like that, right? They're like trying to give me like a fake name for me to lock into my lineups or something like that. This guy, Brevin. Oh, but it did remind me of the other guy that remember I mentioned the other night that there was a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. that disappeared and I couldn't figure out who it was. I think this reminded me. Wasn't there like a Brendan Knight or something like that?
Wait, the other night?
Remember the other day I was talking about Kevin Porter Jr. when we were talking about our thing. I was like, and I was mentioning there was another guy who like disappeared off the face of the earth for Cleveland and came back at a stone minimum 3K and had one like really, really good performance. I couldn't figure out who it was. I think Brendan Knight was his name. Now that I remember it.
It's a new Brandon Knight?
No, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Well, I was just Brandon Knight. I didn't know. Yeah, Brandon Knight was the that was before for me. Yeah, this slate is making my head spin. To be honest, there was a lot of stuff coming up just now. Probably gonna just have to finish my builds after, but let's talk through because like there is so much value, obviously.
What came out? What came out in the last 10 minutes, by the way, that I probably missed?
Well, the best point per dollar projections are guys who you would never have normally played ever.
Not besides James Bouknight.
James Bouknight, who I actually really like. James Bouknight as I think he's got a future. But Troy Brown.
Why? Who got ruled out?
Everybody. I mean, I can't even go through the list of DeRozan for one. Everybody's out. Even Ish Smith, who was supposed to be the chalk, is out. I mean, I only have like projection for 8 bodies.
All right, so here are the guys I have. Let me tell you. Let's say if anybody's ever heard of these guys. So in order, point per dollar, my top guys that I just ran are James Bouknight. Okay, here's a good one. Ayo Dosunmu,
yeah.
Oh, that's the way you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Then Cody Martin, I've heard of him.
Yeah, there's a guy we know of, and you know, not to be confused with Caleb Martin.
Derek Jones, I've heard of him.
Yep.
Nasir Little, Dennis Smith, O'Shai Brissett. I remember that. But the guy you just mentioned, I don't have showing up. Who's the guy you just mentioned?
Shake Milton?
No. Earlier. Another guy I never heard of.
Brown?
Yeah, Troy Brown. I don't have him in my projections. He's supposed to be doing something today.
I've got him projected as like the 4th or 5th best value, and then the best value on FanDuel. But I think that's actually going to be wrong. And it feels so. To try and sift through it, I guess the guys who I would take the shot on Bouknight, and I like to stack up that game. I know it's going to be chalky, so I'm going to have to try and find ways off of it. Also, we have all this, like, we don't know what's happening in Minnesota, and that just feels like, God, there's going to be stuff later, but it's like I can't even say that it's necessarily better. Let's see, maybe we're getting something. Zaire Williams, that's not important. It's trying to rate these guys. Like, I think that the guys who are hard paid for me are Shake Milton, Cody Martin, to some extent Bouknight, but I'm open to that's one you could take that fade. You could take the fade on Derek Jones. We've seen him play 1 million minutes and do nothing. You could take the fade on Troy Brown. Seen him play before and do nothing. Cameron Payne sort of should fall by the wayside a little bit. TLC should fall by the wayside a little bit. These are guys I would fade more. And then going down the list, Lonnie Walker, I like him for tournaments, but I don't think that you need to play him. I don't think O'Shea Brissett you need to play. I don't think you need to play Dosunmu. It's really all the other middling Charlotte guys. Like, somebody's going to have to put up numbers in this game, and it's not. And I like Embiid on the other side, so I don't mind playing a combination of up to 4 of these guys. And my favorites would be, I mean, again, these are the cashy ones. So Martin, Kelly Oubre as a chalky play, I feel a little hesitant to jump on that. We know he can be somewhat shooting dependent. However, he's going to have more opportunity than he's basically had all season or in many years. I like Bridges a lot, and I like Hayward, who's no one's going to play. And I just think Hayward is probably, you know, if you want to bet on this game staying close, that's how you're going to do it. That really is the first decision you have to go through, because you've got other situations in Washington. Like, I think Bradley Beal is a tremendous play today and is not projecting as well as I would have thought. I know it's not the same thing with Bradley Beal, but it's a great spot. You have no Spencer Dinwiddie today. Both one of Beal or Kuzma, I would expect to have a really big game here. And on the other side, I like Miles Turner, but I don't want to play a chalky Miles Turner. That's sort of what we try to have to do. And then on FanDuel, playing LeVert and Sabonis makes sense, but on DraftKings, I don't think you need to do that. So those are really the first decisions you're going to have to make. And then it's important because we don't know about Giannis. We don't know about Beverly, D'Angelo Russell, or Karl Anthony Towns tonight. And that's obviously a spot. I mean, based on the spread, the fact that they're a 2.5-point favorite over Atlanta, that's kind of shocking to see in itself. You would think that they'd probably get up for it, and you're losing something if you skip these top games. But then you've got the Portland guys like, I'm always a sucker for Dennis Smith Jr. He's a little bit higher priced, and I think his ownership's gonna drop a little bit now. So on FanDuel, he's gonna be maybe stand out a little bit more. But I really like ESJ.
Hang on, just one second.
I do think. But guys, go ahead. Drop in any questions you have, because it's a wild slate, and I need to get to building my lineups out and not having quite as much of the early game as I do currently. I mean, it's really hard for me to fade these guys. Like, I want Oubre in, a third of my lineups probably. I would say I want Shake Milton. It's going to be hard for me not to have Shake Milton in basically every lineup. Maybe you can argue against it now with Tobias Harris being there, that they don't need to run offense through Milton, but he's so cheap. It's kind of hard not to take that spot, especially because I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to be playing Embiid. But getting it, what I'm doing with some of this value is doing some weird stuff that are very, very long shot things. And I actually kind of want Sheets to hear this one because I want to get his thoughts on it. Sheets, I think this is a weird time where you can do something weird, like play a Steph Curry versus Cole Anthony, and just hope that game stays close enough. And or better yet, I like Draymond and Cole Anthony, guys I wouldn't normally want to play here exactly, but I actually like it today because I think you're going to have to take some shots on some weird games anyway. And while the spreads in these early games are tighter and Golden State should smoke Orlando, I mean, Cole Anthony's going to have an opportunity to take 500 million shots in this game. And running it back with a low-owned, and by the way, the perfect matchup for Draymond Green to go completely nuts, and no one's going to play him. So I really like that, and no one's going to play Steph either. And you could take that, you can get 120 from those two guys, and that's sort of the way I'm trying to pair my value, is trying to stack and pray a little bit. But you can do it with Charlotte, playing Charlotte, Philadelphia too, and you can do it with playing. Yeah, I mean, the only other one is like we don't even know for sure that McCollum's going to play. I think he's going to. I think he's good now to go. But
is he questionable all day?
Yeah, but I think he's going to play. Nasir Little is also questionable in that spot, but I like it for DSJ. I like it for Norman Powell. I like CJ. And maybe it seems like an overspend to spend on some of these guys, but I think that's what you're going to have to do to try to win tonight. And the more you can do with the later games, that'll give us the news about the Minnesota, so we can just pivot right over to whoever is actually in. Maybe just putting Anthony Edwards in your lineup and hoping that any of those guys are ruled out, especially Russell or Towns. I think that's a reasonable route. Weirdly enough, though, that's another thing you could do is if you do stack the 10 p.m. games, you can switch over and play Towns in a tough matchup even, but like these guys are going to be unowned because of these Q tags all day, and they are expensive, but you're going to have to overpay to make your lineups make some sense. Jimmy Butler's another one who makes a lot of sense in this matchup. He's going to be pretty popular, I think, but I need to get some shares of that. And I mentioned the Bradley Beal might seeming a little thin, but I like that play, the Bradley Beal today. And I keep trying to attack Indiana, and it's worked pretty well for me so far. So I do think Bradley Beal and Kuzma, and you run it back on FanDuel with LeVert and or Sabonis, and that sounds pretty good to me. That makes a lot of sense. I really liked Gafford and Harrell in this matchup. The problem is it's harder to justify playing them when you have guys who are going to play 35 minutes who are cheaper than them. But they are productive point per minute players in a really good matchup. And again, you could potentially see them out there together at least a couple times today for a few minutes. So those are some of the things I'm doing. And the priority spend up is Embiid, but like there's literally nobody who can match up with him on Charlotte. But he's going to be so popular. And if you wanted something different, to take a shot with the Stephs, you know what I mean? Take a shot with play some DeAndre Ayton lineups, by the way. He's going to actually have some ownership too. McCollum makes sense. Paul George feels like an overspend, but at the same time, this is the night you want to be overspending on guys.
Well, speaking of overspending, so aside from the fact that there's blowout risk, are you staying away from Jokic today?
No, I think that's a really another one of those really good plays. That's a great pivot off of Embiid. I think Jokic is that's actually something I want to make sure I prioritize, is to have a little Jokic. And that game became I don't know what's the blowout risk though. Like I don't see that game as having any blowout risk. I mean, sure, there's always blowout risk. We never know, but you could overspend for Zach LaVine when we finally don't have, DeMar DeRozan, to mix things up. And we know Zach LaVine can go out there and get 60 or 70. And I kind of like the idea of playing those guys because you buy yourself that extra hour if we don't hear in the next 45 minutes about the Minnesota guys, because the Minnesota guys are going to be to play. I mean, if two of those guys are out, like you're going to want to just load that game up. Including overpaying, quote unquote, overpaying for Trae Young, because you're going to be playing, 2 or 3 guys on the other side. And that's just the way I would say it, is try to correlate, pick the games you like. I think the first game does make so much sense. I wish it was later. but it is a game that makes a ton of sense to me. And I like the Washington Indiana game a little bit too. So, there's a lot of really good plays out there that I think we could play that, I haven't even mentioned. I think Cade Cunningham's a terrific play on both sides. And I just can't seem to get him in because I like these other situations just a little bit better.
Yeah. So to make, only because I saw Evan in the chat a little while ago, I figured, we don't do this a lot, but just to kind of clarify, for those of you who might be new, that some of the things that Bobby was talking about with stacking and all that kind of stuff, what Bobby was like referring to with respect to the Minnesota thing is that if one of those Minnesota guys or those two Minnesota guys are out and makes a bunch of Minnesota guys a good play, it does two things. Not only does it make Minnesota a good play, but what Bobby likes to do, which is something a lot of the really sharp players like to do, is when they see value on one side of a game, to play the other side of the game without even worrying if they're necessarily good prices also. Okay, because what a lot of people will do is maybe play those value guys, but forgetting the fact that, if those value guys really, really smash, it becomes kind of likely maybe that the other guys, that the teams, the guys on the other side do well as well. So that's when he was talking about try to correlate and try to stack. That's one thing you do, when you look for your good value plays, not only those good value plays in and of themselves, but the fact that it creates kind of implied value on the other side of the game, even if as individual plays are not quite as good.
Yeah, and like it's going to be running everything through the 3 or 4 guys who you're picking from that side, and you're going to have the 1 or 2, the Trae Young on the other side if you want to play the 3 Bulls guys, which you could do. Or if you want to play the Minnesota guys, you can, you play. It depends on who's out, obviously, so it's so hard to put up names. But if you're playing 3 on the other side, throw Trae Young on the other side. You hope the game stays close, and you're going to get the usage from Trae Young down the stretch whenever it's a tight game. So, or play John Collins or Capella, guys who can actually put up numbers. And I think you do want to get some correlation on this slate. So that's the way I'm trying to approach it. And,
so, as you guys haven't quite figured out, I'm like very slow in catching up on what's going on in the slate. But I did just run another set of projections which brought me up to speed just at least a little bit. And as Bobby was mentioning, that the Shake Milton play seems to be the one that stands out the most, right? Mm-hmm. But I also, on a point per dollar basis, at least, still like those guys whose names I can't pronounce. The Book Knight, the Israel Alasanya guy, Ayo Desunyo or whatever. Yeah. And then Derek, what do you think of a guy like Derek Jones, a guy who's going to play like 400 minutes but doesn't really do much? What do you think of a guy like that?
Those would be the guys I'd be trying to look to get away from a little bit today. Now, of course, he can put up. Oh, here we go. Okay, so Russell and Beverly are out. Towns is in, so that's going to make me switch more towards my Anthony Edwards. And I actually think Towns gets a little bit of a boost too, but it is a tough matchup for Towns against Capella. Capella we just see all the time these centers. They just don't get them. You know what I mean? They never seem to affect him quite the way you want him to. So I mean, they never seem to put up the game quite that you want him to. But I do think it's a huge boost to Edwards, and it makes that game more stackable. So I want to get some Collins. That's what I'm going to do here. Get some Collins.
So Russell is out, but Edwards and Towns are in.
Edwards and Towns are in. Russell and Beverly are out.
Okay.
So whether we need any other pieces, I don't know.
Probably, right? Who's going to start a point guard?
Well, but that's the thing. You have that for everybody. So with them out, let me see what I've got here. I would say. Let's see if we get. It's gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna have it updated yet, so we'll see exactly how they run it. I mean, they've had that already, though that situation, and you don't exactly need a regular true point guard. I think Beasley is the other guy with the.
I think that's the one. I think.
Yeah, and he might be overlooked a little bit, by the way. They really don't have another point guard, and Beasley's not a point guard either. Yeah. That game is interesting to me because I like the other side of it. I like John Collins. I like the overpaying for Capella today. And I mean, it's a great. I keep saying this about Towns, and it feels like it's more true every day that they always see. The opposing center just always seems to put up a monster game against him. So I like that. I really like this Draymond Green play. Like it sounds nuts, and maybe you only get 3/4 of it. I like it better on FanDuel. but Draymond Green could end up with like 10 steals and blocks in this game. I know that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but he can do it. This is the kind of matchup where you might see if they have 15 turnovers, he could literally have, through three quarters, he could literally have 10 of them. They might have 24 turnovers through three quarters. He might get, that monster game. He had that game against Phoenix the other night, and in blowouts, Draymond tends to put up huge games and when they blow people out. So I like the Draymond Green. I like DeAndre Ayton. Those guys are the same price, and I keep ending up with 7,400. And I'm trying to delay. Not as much of a need to as anymore. And then you want to play the other guys that other people aren't looking at as much, and that's why I mentioned Gordon Hayward, who I think gets overshadowed in that matchup. And I really like that they can run an offense through him. Gordon Hayward is he can play he can play 1 through 4 basically, sort of be the de facto somewhat of a point guard. So where I'm playing Embiid and Milton together, I want to play Martin, Hayward, and Bridges. Those would be my 3 preferred ones. And then just beneath them, where I'm not doing that, I would play Oubre and Washington if I'm just going to play Shake or Tobias Harris. If that, I'm assuming the game doesn't stay quite as close. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm looking at FanDuel now for a second. I guess the standouts, they're going to be chalky. Well, I don't know how he could be this chalky, but I like LeVert, obviously. And then I'm really getting to a bunch of this Dennis Smith Jr., even at 5K.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes – he's going to play minutes, and he just put up a 40-something the other day. He can score, man.
You still like P.J. Washington?
I do like P.J. Washington, but he's fine in the stacks. But I'm preferring to go with the guys who, if the game is close, are going to be running through the offense through down the stretch, which will be Bridges, Hayward, and Martin, just because he'll play the minutes. But Book Knight certainly could take over some of that role too. We just got more information.
Was Butler out? I'm just guessing.
No, Butler. They think Butler's in, but in fact, I need to try to get Butler into a couple lineups here because I think that he's a really, really, really good play in this.
I think he's an awesome play.
Yeah. So that's something I have to do. That's tricky stuff.
Who do you like more on? Do you like Cat on FanDuel at 9,300?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I worry a little bit about the matchup, to be honest.
Only because Russell's out. That's all.
Yeah, I like him. But I think I would side with going the other route and playing Anthony Edwards just because the shot opportunity. That's what I'm doing anyway.
Okay.
But I do think Cat's a really strong play, and I don't think he's going to get much ownership. I really don't. Even with Russell out,
because you got other plays there on FanDuel, right?
Yep.
You got Ayton at 7,700.
Yep,
that's pretty juicy. Not to mention Embiid and Jokic.
Ayton is. I'm preferring Ayton. I'm finding much more of him on FanDuel, but
That's what I'm talking about specifically.
I'm sorry, I meant on DraftKings. I have just because he's 7,400, which just feels too cheap, and it's a good matchup for him and everything, all that jazz. I really don't like that I'm playing as many guys from the early games as I am. I don't know exactly how to avoid doing that. It's just that's the truth. I would love to try and argue for the fades for some of this. It's just really hard for me to justify Washington, Butler, but you can get different with it. Like I said, by playing the he's not going to be unowned, but Gordon Hayward is going to be the lower owned of that bunch, doing that stuff, maybe forcing Levine into a lineup on DraftKings, just going for a just pure upside play. He's expensive. There's guys who Butler's a better play than Levine is here, but would it surprise any of us if Levine outscores Butler by 20 fantasy points? I don't think so. And is it worth it? Is it going to happen enough of the time for it to make sense? I think it does. So that's what I'm doing.
What do you do at power forward on FanDuel?
Power forward on FanDuel. Let's see what I've got right now. Actually, I think Sabonis is a really strong. I told you the Draymond thing. I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but I really like that play. I think that he's got the upside, and I just love him in these matchups against these high turnover teams that are really sloppy with the ball, and in their blowout run, and he's just sort of gets to run. Basically, ends up running the point because they're the stolen pass and then the outlet, and he sort of ends up being the point guard. So if Curry doesn't go out, one of Curry or Green, even in 3 quarters, should go off tonight. And who's to say that Cole Anthony can't make, 6 or 7 threes in the first half and keep the game close enough? It's completely on the table. He's really good, by the way.
Who?
Cole Anthony.
He is really good.
He's really good. Like, I think he's got he's just better than I ever thought he was going to be.
I think on FanDuel in my main lineup, I don't think I'm paying up for anybody. I mean, I'm not paying over $9K for anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable route to go because I think people are going to want to try to find the value, right? George Hill, that's not really that effective. Give us the Giannis news instead of that. Giannis, another good spend up. So favorite spend up is Embiid, but he is going to be the chalkiest. So I love the pivot to Jokic on DraftKings because he's going to be lower owned over there. I love the pivot to Giannis because we got the Q tag, which is going to keep people a little bit later on him. Let's see. Giannis,
I definitely think I'm going to have to do an update for Minnesota.
Yeah. And they were asking. So I'm just going to answer a couple of real quick questions. That was I do still like Miles Turner. I don't find him as you don't need to play him, but I do think he's a good play. I do not like Taurean Prince. I think I think Taurean
really thin tonight. I think.
Yeah, and could it happen? Absolutely. And he's not. I mean, he's not a point guard either at all. Like whatever you try and call him their point guard, have him bring the ball up sometimes. But that to me is just a little thinner than I'm willing to go. But it is a pivot off of all this other value. And why couldn't he outscore Book Night tonight? We're still speculating on Book Night. Maybe it's not the worst idea in the world to do that. You're going to have that guy. That's what they're going to do. They're going to play that Bolmero kid as their point guard. His name is Leandro Bolmero. I don't know a whole bunch about him, to be honest with you, but he's going to start popping in projections pretty soon. He did play 24 minutes in the last game and did absolutely nothing.
For what team?
For Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, I got him with 25 minutes already.
Yeah, I already picked one of my bets of the day. Look, man, these bets of the day sheets, I swear, I don't even know what I've been
You've been running hot?
Every day. It's like my worst day last week, I think I was 9-4 one day or something. But I mean, it's been it's been 75+% most days, and it's just been really, really strong stuff. But that Atlanta beating Minnesota was my bet of the day today.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite of the bets, but I also had Philly to cover, which at the time was only 5.5, and now it's 8.5, I believe, or 7.5.
Gotta lock that in.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I know. Favorite OKC GPP plays is 0. That's my answer to that question on this slate. Don't have any interest in anybody from OKC. If they were playing at 5 p.m., I would probably consider some of them. As it stands right now, I don't think anybody is viable in any format. So no OKC players for me.
Doesn't get any more direct than that.
Yeah, I mean, and look, thoughts on Sadiq Bey? I think he's fine on FanDuel. I'm not using him. I would rather play the Leverts and those guys. I like Gordon Hayward. Like I said, I'm happy to take that overspend on or what people are going to see as an overspend on Hayward or not a great projection play. I don't find myself with a ton of Sadiq, but sure, he's got a ceiling. Sure, absolutely. I think if you like him, you can go ahead and play him. I don't love him personally, but I think it's fine.
I was going to take a shot until all this other stuff happened. I was going to ask you about some of this other Detroit business, but I guess they're just become pretty thin.
Yeah, MJC is asking a question about any of these Charlotte guys with any issues with the Charlotte guys on the back-to-back. The thing is, the back-to-back is the reason why these guys are viable because all the rest of the team is gone. So somebody's going to have to play. I mean, they're still an underdog in this game, but they're playing at home. They have the most competitive person in the history of sports on their sideline, so I'm assuming they're going to give it their best effort. 7,000 forward left on FanDuel. I'm telling you, I'm playing Draymond Green. Is it maybe thin by other people's standards? Maybe. I love the play. I think this is a Draymond kind of night, and on the FanDuel with the extra bonus for those. Actually, he's going to be pretty popular on FanDuel. He's going to be completely unowned on DraftKings, but I like him on both sites. I like him especially on FanDuel though. So that's what I would do with 7K left. Derek Jones being like one of the top. I just don't understand. I'm kind of confused by this one. Like, are people? Like, I understand that at 36, but on FanDuel at 4,400, I'm seeing him like other people who I really respect, who know the game really well, having him as a priority play for a cash team at 4,400. I just feel like, I don't know, that feels a little thin to me, but I think he's totally in play. I just think that as a top cash game play, that's what everybody's writing him up as. I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, these are the cash game plays because he's going to play 40 minutes. I mean, like.
Right, but there's so many guys who actually are effective on the court, and he's 4,400. It's not like he could put up 25, and that's probably not good enough with the other value you're getting out there.
For cash, it might be.
What's that?
For cash,
cash it might be. But I mean, you have Dennis Smith Jr., who's 600 more, who's going to play the same amount of minutes, and it's Dennis Smith Jr. So that means you're going to get a ton of shots out there. Now you might get like 10 turnovers. That's the one way you could lose to him, but that's what I would be looking to do. Yeah, I don't personally find myself as in love on FanDuel with Derek Jones as other people are writing about right now. Let's see, any other questions? Because let's see. I can't even pronounce the name. I am not playing any of them. I don't mind if you want to take shots on any of these guys. We've seen a lot of wild rotations. Look, the Terrain Prince thing, if you guys want to do it, go ahead and do it. I actually don't think it's quite as bad as I thought it was before because I had an old projection up. Let's see. We've got the Hornets starting lineup, which is Hayward, Oubre, Martin, Bridges, and Richards. So Nick Richards will start the game off. Embiid will get him in foul trouble in like 2 minutes. And then you have to figure out how Charlotte is going to try and guard him after that. It is interesting that Nick Richards, they're only projecting to play like 15 minutes, and they'll probably go small with PJ Washington. There's a chance that Nick Richards could get there, but I don't think I could do that. I actually think that the going back to the Terrain Prince thing is maybe not the worst thing in the world. I think but it's not really revenge, for him. He hasn't played in Atlanta in a while, and they're not in Atlanta, so I don't really find that as quite as viable.
I think he's just going to be very grateful he's getting the minutes. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked his game better than other people seem to, and I think he could put up a number. But I would say that if you're making like 20 lineups in the million in-person tournament, then that's where you might want to use him. Boy, Sheets, I was happy you won the Survivor thing. I was looking. It was going to almost a really good day for the DFS. I thought I was going to. I just didn't get my second half of the day right quite. I almost had the Kittle thing, but I did the pivot in the wrong tournament. But in the big 555 millionaire tournament, my first, I literally played four players on this main slate, and I was like in the top 100 basically because it was Godwin, Minshew, Goddard, and the Colts defense, and it looked like what do I do? I have a million decisions.
Nice.
I just didn't quite get the nuts there, but it was an exciting afternoon at least.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the football from yesterday. Yeah, I did well, and it seems as though, and this is just very generalizing, but it seems as though most of the good players did well yesterday.
Yeah, it was a rare day where like everybody sort of was getting there. Well, the scores were high. I had some 200s on DraftKings and some big buy-ins. So
I had a couple. I'm not thinking of big buy. I mean, I posted what I did yesterday. I made like 50% or something like that. I did great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Let me see real quick before I. Yeah, it looks as though Milton again. Cat and Edwards obviously get bumps. Okay.
Yeah, and I really don't think this is the slate where I should end up with Jay Crowder in my lineups, but somehow he keeps wanting to creep in. It's driving me nuts. I like the Levine Jokic completely unowned pairing. I think that's a really interesting way to go.
You think that's going to be low owned?
Yeah. They're 9,500 and 12,000. Like, this is a lot to spend on them, But so that answers that question about the game stack, or at least touches on it. But it is weird on DraftKings because there's all this stuff in this low tier, and then you've got like a little bit of the 4Ks. There's not really value, so like ending up in the 4K-ish range. I don't really want to play Killian Hayes. I don't really want to play Crowder, but at least Crowder buys me time. I guess I'm going to live with it in one lineup, whatever. I'm going to go through and build. So, guys, if I get
before you cut out, do you want to give any you have anything for the football or not really?
I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to stay on actually with you guys today.
Okay.
I can get through this. I don't need somebody else telling me what to do. Everybody else is going to be speculating too, and I don't need to dig up extra information. If you guys do come across anything, because I'm obviously solo and working on the lineups and trying to
Yeah, no,
But,
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna be doing my lineups right now. I literally haven't built anything yet. I'm gonna
yeah.
do it now. I mean,
Football, it's it's an ugly game. I actually like the Patriots, and I like the over, even with the ugly game. And I think playing two Patriots running backs and including Bolden in that mix is a good way to go. I think that Josh Allen makes the most sense as captain, but I don't mind if you want to take a Kendrick Bourne as a captain, for example. He's been a lot of big plays, allows you to do a few extra things. I don't even mind Bolden as a really weird long shot captain, but I like all the running backs, all three for New England. And on the Bills side, I think that, getting away from maybe some digs is not a bad way to go, even though I do have some digs. I think I want to be below the field just because that is the one thing. I mean, this is what Belichick does, right? Like he's not going to be able to just completely stop Josh Allen, but he can. I mean, they have a good defense, and I'm imagining they'll pay a lot of attention to Diggs today. So that might be a fade you could look at that I think is really viable.
I really like it. I think that it's going to be pretty chalky, but I think it's I think Devin Singletary is really cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually think maybe playing Breda, who might be lower owned, at least what I saw before, but I haven't re-looked at that. I'm gonna wait till after we're done with this.
Oh yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. So Washington, let me see. I really am having trouble getting Shake Milton even out of one lineup, and that might be a mistake.
On DraftKings, I currently have him at 100.
Yeah. That's what I have too.
Yeah.
And I'm playing a lot of lineups, so that's kind of weird. It just feels what if he has a little trouble? And maybe you know what you do? Maybe in some of the longer shot tournaments, maybe you play a little Isaiah Joe.
Well, who do you like more, if at all, between Derek Jones Jr. and Cody Martin?
Martin, but it's close enough that Martin, but more it has to do with the game that I like a little bit better. But I don't think it has to be Martin. I think really either one is fine.
I like this Book Knight.
Yeah, me too.
I like the Book Knight. And
he's awesome.
And the Gosmu.
The problem with him is he's going to be on because people have taught if you watch his highlights, man, that guy is really talented.
Oh, that's annoying.
So it's going to, unfortunately, probably going to up his ownership for anybody who watched any of his games or any of the highlights of him. He's really, really, really skilled dude. Yeah,
Milton is. Yeah, I think the dude's just going to have to be the 100.
It's such a frustrating thing. I know. I'm with you. I agree, and I don't like that I agree.
I
just took him out of one manually and played Duarte instead.
Duarte.
I mean, it's a long shot play, man. It's a guy who can get hot and can get there. It's just they're all healthy, so it's maybe a little thin. But yeah, I actually have a Draymond, Curry, and Cole Anthony, which just probably can never get there, but it's a fun little mix. I don't think I'm gonna end up sticking with it in my big ones. I'll leave it in one of the long shot Hail Mary tournaments. By the way, if you did want to play anybody from OKC, I guess Lou Dort would be my answer to who to play. But I think I'd rather play Jared Vanderbilt than Lou Dort personally. It's close actually. Vanderbilt's kind of coming into his own. What's great about Vanderbilt is he doesn't need to do anything. He's just gonna rebound the hell out of the ball. This guy gets like 15 rebounds a game now.
Yeah.
Even when Cat plays, he just kills people on the boards.
Let me do FanDuel. I already hand built my big one, and I'm sticking with that regardless of what any future runs, because I really, really like it. I'll tell you what it is in a second. But I mean, it shouldn't take you that. It shouldn't be that hard for people to figure out. I literally have nobody over 9K. So.
Yeah, I haven't beaten my initial one, but I think I'm going to probably change that in just a minute. I really like I think it's really the smart thing to do is to try to play Gian. Let's see if we get a Giannis update. I think it's really clever to try and play. Not clever. I think the right thing is to optimize your results is to maybe play play the Charlotte guys, but to play them with either Levine with like a Levine Jokic stack or Giannis. And I just wish I liked somebody on Cleveland. I think Mobley's fine on the back-to-back. That was my other ones. I think Milwaukee's going to cover against Cleveland, and I love Cleveland. I bet on Cleveland all the time. That was one of my favorite bets last week. They were 4.5-point underdogs in Washington, and they beat the hell out of them.
Yeah,
they're really they're a good team. But on a back-to-back in Milwaukee, unless Giannis is out, I don't know how they're going to win that. Keep that one too close, I guess. Shake Milton. Anthony Edwards has got to be like a premium play, though. I think you want Anthony Edwards today, guys.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't have enough of them, actually, to be honest with you. But you know what's interesting is that I don't think people are – let me see. Did it update on Harris? It's an interesting spot to play Harris maybe instead of Embiid in his stack because I don't think anyone's doing it. It's not my favorite thing, but I'm just trying to find ways to get different because I do think the main games that we're looking at are the games you want. Sadly, I really like the Bradley Beal though. Bradley Beal's a great pivot off of the Chalky McCollum.
I've got to be out of my freaking mind. So you know what? I have 90 on FanDuel. I have 96% Dennis Smith Jr. I got to be out of my freaking mind.
Unfit. I love Dennis Smith Jr., so I'm okay with it. It sucks because the pricing makes you want to play him more there. And by the way, I'm gonna throw a couple Gafford and lineups in a couple of in the long shot tournaments with Gafford and our other guy who I like better, Harrell.
Hey, you like Lonzo at all?
It's an interesting one.
Sort of have to, don't you? I mean,
it's interesting.
On FanDuel,
I didn't come across much of him, but yeah, FanDuel definitely makes more sense. But the FanDuel, all the guards are underpriced.
Okay.
But he does have the ceiling. Like he can put up that monster game. I think that's a good play, Sheets. I like that call. Edwards. Yeah, Edwards is too good of a play to ignore here.
Yeah, I think so.
Jones, Ayton. Wow. Okay, so do I do Oubre, Washington, Shake, Milton? Do I need to have Beal in there? Like I'm going through a McCollum and Draymond, or a Beal, a McCollum and John Collins, or a Beal and Draymond.
Say that one more time. What are those 2x2?
McCollum and Collins, or Beal and Draymond.
Ooh,
they're really close.
Man, those are both pretty cool plays, though.
Yeah, I think if you play the Beal Draymond, you're just getting too like you're so far ahead of the nobody's gonna have that. Nobody.
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Beal Draymond. When's the last time anybody played Bradley Beal ever?
Well, I know, but we at least we have finally an excuse, a great pace matchup. I was saying it, Sheets. I said it on my little video I did earlier. I said I never say play Bradley Beal, and I'm saying play Bradley Beal. So I think I have to stick with it, just for the interest of pitching it all day, and nothing has really changed for him. But I would like to get a little bit of this Giannis Jokic stuff going, and I don't have enough of it. You have an interesting build going, don't you? I can on FanDuel, because if you're not paying, I think I'm going to fade. I have to fade him somewhere, so I might just fade Shake over there. I can't just play him every single place. I can't live with myself if I do. He's got downside. I mean, if Harris was out, I don't know if you can fade him, but with Harris out, I think you can fade him.
With Harris in,
with Harris in, sorry. Yeah, I don't think he's a must on FanDuel. There's just a lot of guys out there, like Reggie Jackson, could outscore him, and he's 600 more, but that's to get you exposure later game. You got some options there. Jackson, and then what is the price? Let's see if we go.
So Giannis hasn't been ruled out yet, right?
No,
I'm just checking.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's working on it. Let me redo my football here. See what I got. Yeah, it should be on the one hand, I think it should be a good game. On the other hand, I don't know. What do you like in this game?
I like the defenses too.
No, I mean like as against the spread. Yeah, exactly, right?
Oh no, I like New England.
You do?
It's close. I've completely turned New England, and like I could end up looking like an idiot, but I think New England is gonna. If it's not the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I think it's gonna be New England.
Chiefs looked a little fishy last night, I think.
They look a little fishy every night, but they keep winning games, and they keep winning games and controlling them. And I don't know what's the matter with my guy this year, but
I like that guy from Denver, by the way, that running back.
Wait, which one was that?
The guy, Devontae Williams, whatever.
Oh yeah, Yeah, I mean that killed me last night because I had everything else sort of pretty much tattooed, but I couldn't get
Yeah,
any
I
of
don't know
that.
who he is. The guy finishes his runs. Strong player.
Yeah, definitely. Feel. All right, let's use this like this.
Brandon Bolden.
Yeah, I like the Brandon Bolden play today.
Yeah, I'm getting that. Singletary.
Who are you playing at center on FanDuel? Oh, you're like the Aiton, I think. I think that's
Yep.
probably what you're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Aiton play too. I kind of like the Capella play, to be honest with you.
That you want a 0.0% owned guy that could smash. That's that idea.
That's
I
the
know
one,
he's
right?
not going to smash. You know what I mean? I want him to get like 6x. You know.
Who? Capella?
Aiton.
Oh, Aiton. Yeah. But Capella could put up like 60 or 70.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The block upside. I like that actually quite a bit. No, it's Paul George. Ugh.
Paul George. We don't even play him in a 5-game slate. We're going to play him in a 15.
He's 8,900 on FanDuel though.
Oh.
But everybody's too cheap on FanDuel, so it kind of makes everything a little bit mucked up. Ugh. This slate is driving me up the wall. Yeah, playing Bradley Beal over Paul George.
We definitely don't even have any news on Giannis officially, correct?
Right.
When's that game? Probably the worst, 7:30 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. Of course.
What's that? I hear something.
Brandon Clark out. We knew that already.
Okay.
Jokic. Oh, what is Levine? All these guys. Levine. That's what I'm trying to figure out a way to do on FanDuel is to try to play all of Levine, Beal, Edwards, and George.
I'm trying to think of how many ways I'm going to chop this FanDuel showdown slate. Probably like 7,000. FanDuel showdown is just like, why? I don't even know why, but I'm doing it anyway.
Guys, I'll answer questions once I get a chance to. I'm sorry, it's hard to get.
You got questions pending here?
I don't know. I haven't looked in the chat in a bit. Washington. It keeps ending up. I literally every time this happens on our shows, it drives. Now I see why it's happening. Every time they want to give me, I keep ending up at Troy Brown. I'm sorry, Derek Jones price, and I just don't want to play him over there.
Book night.
Over
5,600. Let me just see if I'm missing anything at power. Because I have one sort of fishy play in my main lineup on FanDuel. And I just want to make sure I have nothing better at power forward.
This is driving me nuts. I literally end up with this in every lineup. Derek Jones is the only. No matter how I try to restructure, rebuild, they just want me to
force them to have only 20%. That's what I do.
Of who?
Derek Jones.
I know, but I'm in my main build, and it's the exact right price.
No, I have it in my main one. I have to. Yeah. Oh, this is okay. So here's. I have one decision. Oh, this is terrible. Let me just. I'm going to ask you in a second.
Okay.
Both of these are just awful. That's not true. Oh, I think I'm pretty safe for this one. Let me just see.
I like Jared Allen on FanDuel to answer that. To DraftKings to answer that question. Sorry, I'm trying to jump to.
Okay, you ready? Here we go, everybody. Maybe I should just make this a poll. I got 5,400 on FanDuel at power forward. I can either play Isaiah Stewart, Montrezl Harrell, or Keldon Johnson.
Harrell for me.
Sorry, Mr. Stewart, you have been replaced.
I like him too. I think Harrell's. I actually like this matchup a ton for Harrell. I think he could have a big game. I know they don't give up points to this other center position. That's what everybody says, but it's a different type of center. It's not like you're counting on Harrell to post up and score like that. And you get no ownership on them.
That's it. That's the answer. 100% Montrezl Harrell. There you go.
Levine. I don't need to play Cade. I really want to play Cade, but I just can't quite.
Let me just see if I can find some questions in here. So I have nothing over here. I can't believe I even got this work done today and got all this stuff done. Let me just see. Live studio. I have no late players in my FanDuel lineup, so I'm going with Dennis Smith over Shake. I almost never cash with no late picks. Okay. DFS Wolfpack wants to get up to Miles Turner.
I think it's fine. I mean, Turner's going to be somewhat owned, but I think
you mean my power forward thing? Nah, I'll pass. I like my other spots.
Yeah. That's the thing. It depends on how much you like the rest of your lineup, of course. I do think Shea, by the way, I said earlier, no OKC so much for me, but I think Shea's fine on FanDuel, but I don't think I'm going to end up doing it, to be honest. I think these Washington, Indiana guys are just so freaking cheap. It's really, really hard to avoid, but I need to play Bradley Beal over here.
I don't know, man.
You got anybody 4,700 or under at power forward? Because I am right there, and I cannot find – my favorite one is Gallinari, and it just feels a little too thin for this kind of slate. Let's see. Jimmy Butler available. We already knew that. I'm going to put Marcus Morris in temporarily and just suffer and deal with it later, I guess.
The only thing I don't like about the Harrell dude is that he never plays over 30 minutes.
I know. That's the same thing with Gafford, too. Like, they're just never going to get there. But they absolutely just destroy when they play.
And I got Stewart playing 35 minutes a game.
Yeah.
That's my only issue.
All right. Well, so be it. This is what I'm doing. I figured it out. I found the thing that I'm going to do, and then I'm just going to have to live with the consequences. I'm using Jokic on FanDuel, but not on DraftKings at the moment. Big one. I really think Giannis is such a sharp play, though. I do have Giannis in some of my big buy-ins in the interest of full disclosure.
Dude, I love all these lineups that don't have any of those studs. I like all of them.
Yeah.
I really do. I have 4 on FanDuel. I have. Do you have any Vooch?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, just because there's too many plays. Like, there's nothing against Vooch.
By the way, to stand up for what I described, I have 62% Lonzo on FanDuel.
62% Lonzo on FanDuel. I just put him in my main lineup.
And there you have it.
I wanted to get Levine in. I couldn't find a way to do it right, so I ended up going.
That's what I have. I have Levine in my main one.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't get a center that actually made sense to me.
I guess I'm gonna split. All
right.
Messages here. NFL utilities. I got to catch up on admin stuff and optimize. So we're meeting tomorrow, Bobby. Is that what we're doing?
Oh yeah, we can do it tomorrow. Yeah, sorry, I wrote it for today, but we can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
great. All right. Good luck, everybody, and yeah, everybody.
Rest of the night, guys. I'm in Discord if you guys have any other thoughts or anything else.